we're all born naturally with these gifts, but just like running a marathon, we're not all meant to, right? We're not all meant to be pro basketball players. We're not all meant to do some of these great things. But if you're called to it, and if you find purpose in it, and you're being led to do it, then you absolutely can. And that's the message behind the book and why I wrote it.
You are now listening to the highlight reel builder for authors, the Going North podcast. I'm your host, best-selling author, and Maxwell Leadership Certified Trainer, Dom Brightman. And you're going to be getting some tips and techniques to advance yourself coming up next. Today's episode is sponsored by both books, Going North, Tips and Techniques to Advance Yourself, and the follow-up bestseller, Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. Head over to Amazon.com, pick up both books. They are available in a trifecta of paperback, audio, and ebook. Cop all three of both and be on the lookout for another book from yours truly to help podcasters succeed. Now let's get on with today's episode. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as GNP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, it's the Going North podcast. And we got another super special, awesome human that can fit all three of those G's and more, because we got another wonderful guest courtesy of podmatch.com. That's right, folks. The site where they have a box of matches and a microphone, podmatch.com, where podcast guests get to connect with podcast hosts. And if they're cool, they're in. And today's guest is cooler than 2 cucumbers. That's right, indeed. She is on the cool spectrum, and she's high on that wonderful radar, baby, because she is a fellow bookcaster, y'all. That's right, indeed. She's a fellow podcast host as well as a best-selling author, indeed, baby. And not only that, she is an advanced certified psychic medium. So my goodness, I believe that's the first for this podcast, especially since she's certified under Lisa Williams International School of Spiritual Development. So let's give it up for the T and the E, the tantalizing and exciting Tracey Escobar. How you doing today, Tracey?
Woo-hoo! I'm doing great. The energy is amazing, and we're going to have so much fun today. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure, D. It's great to have you on. That's right. That's right, indeed. You finally arrived at the danger zone.
Oh, no. Watch out. I'm equipped.
Right.
Let's go.
Oh, good. So that means you already know to do an egg roll and not a barrel roll. I got you.
That's right.
Well, before eggs roll, I'm sure there are chickens around that decide to do some clucking. So mine, goodness, it's your first time on the podcast, and there's folks living under rocks out there to dodge inflation. Mind filling us in on your backstory of how you got to where you are today, Tracey?
Yeah. You ready? It's a good story. Yeah. So I was born, and then here I came. But no, really, I was born into trauma, I guess. So, right at the start, I was young. I was the daughter of an alcoholic. My parents became divorced, so I became part of a split family. But then tragedy struck when my dad passed away. And so, although there was a rough times in the beginning of my life, my dad was really the coolest person I've ever known, and I was a daddy's girl for sure. So he actually died when I was 19. And I think that set me on the trail, I guess, of my purpose, although it would take me a lot of years and going down wrong paths and wrong roads to find where I was actually meant to be all along. And so that's kind of what the book is about. I talk about all my soul lessons in life, from abuse, from daughter of an alcoholic to drug use, to you name it, I've lived it. All of my 20s, I spent running, numbing, and hiding, like a lot of people in their 20s who, my age, so I'm 50, we didn't know about trauma back then. We didn't know about a lot of things, and it wasn't talked about the way it was now. And so, yeah, I think my path and my purpose came later in life. And so when I became divorced with 3 children, and they were all older, and they left home to go to college and things, I kind of just found myself like empty. Like, okay, I was a mom, I was a soccer mom, I'm an employee, and I'm a really great employee. I have a great career, and I'm still doing that. I'm still in corporate America, but there was something desperately missing in who I was. And I woke up one day tired of running, numbing, and hiding, to be honest with you. And spirit spoke to me that day, and I got an affirmation that I wrote on my bathroom mirror. And it was, "You're meant to be greater than you are today." And I really took that affirmation to heart. And I said, okay, I looked in the mirror and said, I'm done running, numbing, and hiding. And I'm done not enjoying life. And, waking up every day wondering what this is all about. Am I meant to work in corporate America all my life? Am I meant to just suffer, not to be happy, et cetera? So that's kind of where I found myself. And so I started taking some classes. I started like painting, anything I could do. I was just trying to find what it was. And I remembered my dad passing away and thinking, I've always been interested in life after death. I've always had this fascination. I remember watching John Edwards on TV thinking, wow, how cool is that? Why can't I be that? Why are only certain people allowed to talk to the dead? And why can't I do that? And I remember that just kind of sitting with me all of my 30s, probably, because by that time I was starting to deal with some of my trauma, and I was starting to miss my dad. And Sylvia Brown was on TV at that time. And so more and more people were coming on TV during that time. But unfortunately, back then, when I was starting to notice mediums, I was still in a marriage with a man who was raised predominantly Catholic. And so that stuff just wasn't allowed in the house. If I brought anything home, it would get thrown away. So I just wasn't in the space that I could explore mediumship and psychic abilities at all. And so I just kind of put it on the back burner, and I didn't even do anything with it until I was divorced and found myself, again, empty nest. Everybody's leaving. I don't know what to do with myself anymore. I'm no longer a soccer mom. And so I went and had a reading done, and I think that changed me forever. I spent like $300. I went to a lady and I had her do a reading for me, and she brought through my dad. And that reading changed my life. And I felt the power of mediumship, and I felt what it was like to go to a medium and be able to talk to someone who's passed away, especially tragically, like I had experienced, and I never got to say goodbye. So there was no closure. And I was 19 and I was super young. And so I went to the psychic medium, and she brought through my dad great evidence. So there's no denying that's who it was. And I think that just changed me. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to help people. And I remember hearing from another medium that you don't have to be born with it. We're all born with it. And I think that changed me forever. I thought you had to be special. I thought you had to have God, given you this special gift because you had a calling to do so. And so the minute someone told me that anyone really can tap into this ability, I was on. I'd already been meditating. I'd already been journaling. I'd already been trying to heal. I was painting. I was doing all these things. And so I went home and I just decided to commit to it. I started meditating. I started doing 2-a-days. I'm in Texas where it's football, right? So doing 2-a-days. I was meditating in the morning. I was meditating at night. And then things started happening, and I started getting visions, and I started keeping a journal by my bed. And yeah, it was just amazing. But I remember specifically what really set me on the path. I was starting to go to classes locally, like I would say like meditation training, maybe some oracle card training and things like that. And so I was already starting to dip my toe in it a little bit. And I remember I was on a hike with my friend at the time, and I had stopped midway through the hike, and I looked at this person and I said, red is starting to be very profound for me. Everywhere I go, red, the color red is popping out at me like the red birds. And I know that's linked to people who've passed away. So I started making this connection to the red with my father, and red flowers, the red in the trees, like there's little specks of red in tree bark. And I was just noticing everything. And I just remember saying to this person, how random would it be if there was a red couch out here in the middle of nowhere?
Mm-hmm.
Not really understanding where that came from. It just came out of my mouth. I don't know where it came from. I had a vision in my head of a red couch. And, this person knew I was going through some changes. They knew I was starting to meditate and things like that, and starting to delve in this kind of stuff. And they said, okay, it's a little weird, but I hear you. You told me. Okay. So cliffhanger, nothing happened that day. I didn't see a red couch, nothing. We went on our walk, and there was the end of the day. But this is how spirit works with you. They plant the seeds, and not even probably a week later, my dryer went out. And so I found myself having to go to the laundromat, and this person kind of went with me to the laundromat. We were doing the laundry, And I said, well, while this is dry, why don't we just kind of go for a walk? So right behind the laundromat where I was living, there is this beautiful lake. And so we said, let's just kind of go walk the lake while all this stuff is drying. And we walk down this strip center mall. It's like a strip center. And then as soon as we kind of turn the corner, we're walking down the side of the building, and then we walk and hit the big pasture before the lake. And I kid you not, you can't make this up. There was an abandoned red couch right there in our path. And at that moment, I knew that my dad was watching over me, and I knew he was directing me on my path. And I knew that day, 6 years ago, that I was going to be a medium. And then here we are today. I've written my book about it, finally professional and ready to just talk to the world about it. Whew, that was a lot. Sorry.
Why say sorry for it? Ain't no need to apologize.
That was a lot.
Need to apologize. You good. You good. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Turning that pain into power. That's right. Growing up in a alcoholic household and going through some toxic stuff, going through some traumatic stuff, and being able to find and discover your gifts indeed. And if I'm not mistaken, you found them at when you were 4.5 years old, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's my only regret. I wish I could have had a realization earlier, but it's all in divine timing and it's when it's meant to be, right?
Heck yeah, indeed. Heck yeah, indeed. So, what made you want to write a book? Because sometimes folks just want to tell stories or maybe just do some readings and whatnot. So, what made you decide to put pen to paper and put your story and immortalize it?
That was really, I went through a huge breakup in 2020. So right after the pandemic happened, a 15-year relationship ended. And I had nothing but time on my hands, right? I had nothing but time. But in December, that'll happen like in August, September. And by the time December came, trying to get used to my new normal, being back single. And I listened to spirit and I've listened to my intuition, and I had this calling to go to Belize. And I didn't know why. I didn't know what was up. My dad had been, okay, so let me backtrack just a second. My dad was adopted. So I didn't know all of my dad's original family. And it's crazy family. There's probably, I don't know, 12 siblings or something. I can't even, 17. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. But when we finally found everybody, there was a lot of siblings. Okay. And so we became all Facebook friends with some of my dad's siblings. My dad had already passed by this time when everybody was found. And one of my aunts had moved to Belize and owned a hotel. And I'd never met her before. I just seen her on Facebook. And I don't know, I just kept hearing, you need to go to Belize. You need to go to Belize. And so on Facebook, it was during the height of the pandemic, and they were running a special, and they said, come to Belize. You could stay at our hotel for $600 for the month. I said, I'm there. So I literally went to Belize in February of 2021 for 30 days and by myself, and spent 30 days in Belize and just started writing because I just felt my soul needed to get my story out. And there's two parts of it. So the book is about healing my soul. It's about the journey to mediumship and telling people that you don't have to be special, that we all have it. And I think that's important because when I was going through my journey, no one was telling you that you don't have to be special. No one was telling you that everyone has an innate intuition. No one was telling you that if you felt drawn, that you could actually develop this gift and you could do this gift if you wanted to. No one was saying that. And so I felt compelled. I'm going to tell the world, if you want to do this, you don't have to be special. I'm nobody special. Didn't have these ghost experiences when I was 2, right? I didn't have any of those things that people talk about, but it all came later in life, and it came at 45. And people will probably say, well, then you don't have a natural ability. And I can say, yeah, I do. We're all born naturally with these gifts, but just like running a marathon, we're not all meant to, right? We're not all meant to be pro basketball players. We're not all meant to do some of these great things, but if you're called to it and if you find purpose in it, and you're being led to do it, then you absolutely can. And that's the message behind the book and why I wrote it.
Sweet. That's what I'm talking about indeed. And one heck of a steal. They're like, come on.
Come on,
Ignore COVID. Like $600 a month in Belize. Come on.
I'm
Somebody join
going.
us.
You know what? And it's crazy. It was probably one of the safest countries because they were so strict with the rules, right? Like if you got caught without your mask, you're fined $1,200 on the street, no questions asked. So it was a
Damn.
super safe country. It was. They were not playing, right? You had to wash your hands, and if you had to wear your mask, there was curfews. You had to be back in the hotels by 10 every single night. No playing. You were caught, you're fined, and they kept you in jail until you gave them the money. So it was safer than being here sometimes. But I did it.
Damn.
I did it on the height of COVID. I went to Belize and I just started writing.
No wonder they were charging $600. They were hoping the travelers wouldn't
Exactly.
would have enough money in case they broke the rules.
Exactly. You're trying to get people there. That's okay. I took it. Let me go lock myself up. I'll go. It was fun. I had a great time. And then I came back different. It's weird when you go to a country like that and you immerse yourself. I wasn't in a resort by any means. I'm in a little boutique hostel, right? It's a hostel. It's a beautiful, cute boutique hotel. But you're forced to meet people. You're forced to talk to people because everybody's out in courtyards, and it's the life of the hostel environment. And it was just so life-changing. And then just being in a country that's poor. I mean, the locals don't have shoes. I'm like, people just walk around barefoot. It became so humbling. I came back and like sold my house, sold everything. I just want to be able to pick up and go if I wanted to. And so it changed a core piece of me to where I'm no longer materialistic whatsoever at all. I rather work. Me and my boyfriend I have a boyfriend, new boyfriend now, but we have a saying: we work to travel. That's the only reason why we're working, so that we can spend every time off traveling the world and going and seeing places. So I digress.
There we go. Yeah, you couldn't be off the market for too long. Be on the market for too long. Somebody to snag you.
Someone
So
snatched me.
indeed. Exactly. The snatching was definitely quick indeed. So my goodness, finally getting that book done and going to a
Yeah.
wonderful faraway place to soak up some sun, some waves, and also get a little lesson in humble pie of, oh
Yeah.
man, like we are having a good over here in the US of A for those in the US of A. So
Yep.
my goodness, so finally getting that book done, and you actually got some mediumship cards too on top of that, if I'm not mistaken. So what led to the cards? You just got tired of drawing some wonderful tarot cards of your own, like, you know what, let me make my own darn deck. Like, how was
Darn
that
it.
process like?
It's so interesting what that process did for me too. It's like spirit led. I was not even interested in cards. When I got into this, I'm gonna be a medium. Mediums don't use cards. Like, I'm a medium. I talk to dead people. I don't use cards to talk to dead people. So I was really anti cards back then in the beginning. And I just keep getting spirit saying, you got to make a deck. You're going to make a deck. And then like I'd pass street signs and it'd be the name of Hay House. It'd be Hay Road, right? Or I'd pass something, it'd be the name of something. I'm like, okay, spirit, okay. So they put an artist in my path. And it's so crazy. I am a big fan of the Day of the Dead, the sugar skulls. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but they're really colorful skulls. It's a part of the Mexican tradition, Day of the Dead. They celebrate in November the Day of the Dead, of passing, and they celebrate their loved ones who have passed. So super love the whole skull thing. And then Spirit put an artist in front of me that's what she did. She drew and painted skulls, and I commissioned her to paint me a portrait of me as a skull, a sugar skull, sitting on top of a red couch, right? And so once I got that commission back, it was so great. And it was so exactly what I was aligned with at that time that I said, okay, Spirit, you want me to do cards. I am not an artist. I am not a drawer, but you put this lady in front of me. I'm going to listen and not challenge it and not overthink it. And I'm just going to say yes. And that's what I've learned during this journey, to just say yes. And I said yes to her and I commissioned her, and we decided to do 4 cards a month. And it took over, I think, a year to do, right about a year to complete everything. But we did 4 cards a month. And when it was all done, I told Spirit, I said, Spirit, you're so smart, because what it did, it allowed me to focus on every single card and do my healing around that card. Like, I can't preach forgiveness if I'm not forgiving, or if I haven't forgiven myself, right? I can't teach patience to people if I haven't done the work for patience myself. So every single card that we did in the book, I sat with and I healed from it, that part of my life that I needed to. So what spirit did, they knew the only way to get me to take the deep dive was to make it a business thing, if that makes any sense. Because through my trauma, I got all of my recognition and I was seen and heard at work and through business and through my accolades from my success. And so they knew that. And so they that's how they made me heal, was through the cards.
That's what I'm talking about. Indeed. That's right, indeed. And hey, definitely got to have somewhat of a business mindset, period, nowadays, entrepreneurial
Yeah.
mindset, because, hey, can't stay stagnant and static. Because if I'm not mistaken, you actually combine this with a brand new day job, right?
I do have a day job, but yeah, I am like 4.5 years away from retiring. So I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to stick it out. But you're right. You said something about having to have a business in it. And I tell people all the time, find your passion and then turn it into a business and make a living at it, because then it doesn't feel like you're working. Right. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to turn this passion into my final business. And so when I retire in my 5 years and I get my medical and I get the things that I work so hard for, then this is my full-time job and this is what I'm going to do. Already it's almost full-time anyway, but
Sweet. Any advice for those doing both side hustle and full time corporate hustle?
yeah, just keep going, right? Don't give up. Because eventually that side hustle, if it's meant to be and if it truly is your passion, you will pour so much energy into it that it can't help but be successful. And what keeps us from making the jump most times, 9 times out of 10, is fear. And I'm one of them. I haven't overcome the fear of having a steady paycheck. I haven't overcome the fear of having a 401k, right? So, I'm preaching to the choir for myself because I too haven't healed the fear part that will be able to make me do the jump, right? And so I just think finding your passion, monetizing your passion, creating a business sense out of your passion will just set you up for such a happier life, because then I get to create the space to travel, right? I get to create the space to be a better mom. I get to create the space to be a better grandmother, be a better wife, be a better girlfriend. I'm not a wife yet. Let's just say I'm going to predict that happening, but to be a better girlfriend, right? Creating the space, doing what I'm doing now. I'm tied to my computer from 8 to 5, traveling for business. So yeah, that's my hope. That's my plan.
Oh, that's right, indeed. The plan, the mighty P. And heck, another mighty P is podcasting. And I hear you actually have a podcast that you co host with your buddy Cassie. So, my goodness, I got to ask you an obligatory podcast question by default. So, the metaphysical happy hour, indeed.
Yeah.
So what are the three major lessons you've learned thus far from starting and growing that show? Because you got 46 episodes and counting.
Wow. Yeah. That it's not that easy to grow. Number one, right? That's a business in itself. And it's a lot of work too. So I applaud you, because it's a lot of work, but it's helped me with my speaking, right? So this can turn into more of a speaking engagement with speaking talks around my book and things like that. So I've learned a lot about speaking. I've learned about other viewpoints and being open to other people's views, because we have all sorts of people on the show, right, who have different views and beliefs than I do. But learning just to be open and to create the space to allow them and then their beliefs to be able to speak and educate the world as well. So I love it. It's amazing. I hope we continue to grow it. We have some exciting things coming. We're starting to get more notable people on the show in the mediumship realm. And so we're super excited about that too.
Heck yeah. That's right. Because enjoyed the Corby Met Live episode. She's freaking hilarious. That's right, indeed.
Yeah.
That's right, indeed. Or should I say her second appearance? I didn't get a chance to hear her first appearance. That's
Touche.
right. That's right, indeed. When it's nice, you gotta do it twice, indeed. So, my goodness. So, when you're on the guest side of the game on these interviews, is there a question that you wish podcast hosts would ask you more often?
Wow, that's just the greatest question, because I think they have great questions because they don't know, right? So a lot of the podcasts I've been on lately, they don't know anything about it. So I think that that's great. I think too, some of the off the wall questions have been phenomenal as well. And so I'm starting to keep a list of the off the wall questions that I get. And I think the most off the wall one so far was, if you were in front of a classroom of fifth graders, how would you describe what you do? So I thought that was a challenging question for a medium in a public school environment. So yeah, learning those kinds of things have been fun. So I'm open to anything. And I like to talk because I am a podcast host as well. So I tend to, if you don't ask me, I'm going to tell you anyway.
That's right. Tell me many things. That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So speaking of telling, funny enough, a thought popped in my head. So my goodness, has there ever been a time when you actually connected with the dead and then you halfway realized, oh crap, this is scary as heck. Let me get out of here.
No, but I'll give you a story of connecting with the living that scared the hell out of me, because that's different, right? So I'm not scared of dead people at all. I've been doing this for 6 years. I've done probably thousands of readings, probably by this point, and not one scary situation whatsoever at all. And I would tell you if it happened, it didn't. I think in the very beginning, I had a bad dream, but I think that was my subconscious releasing all the negative things that people say about this work, working with the devil, working with, right, with bad spirits and things like that. And so I had a really bad dream at first, but I think that was my subconscious releasing everything. But ever since that one point, nothing has been bad at all. There's nothing been scary. It's all been healing and helping and healthy and beautiful, to be honest with you. And so when I talk to people who have scary experiences, that's where I get challenged with my belief system, because I've been doing this for 6 years and nothing scary has happened. So sometimes I wonder, are we creating these things that, or are we seeing things and because of our worldview making them scary? Okay. But I can tell you, the minute I had some situation happen to me a couple of years ago, probably about 2 or 3 years ago, where I woke up out of a dead sleep and I went and opened my bedroom door, and from my bedroom door I can see the living room, and it must have been dawn because it was light enough where I could see inside the living room. I could see TV and it was turned off, but I saw my daughter rocking in the rocking chair, and my daughter was, I think, 20 something, 25 maybe at that time or whatever. And I was like, well, that's wow, I'm going to leave her because it's dawn and she's rocking in the rocking chair. So I wonder if she's kind of going through some things. So I'll just leave her alone. And so I shut my door, and then I thought about it. I said, no, maybe I should go back and just ask her if she's okay. And when I opened the door, she wasn't there. And so I went, and I'm telling you, this was within 30 seconds of my brain trying to decide what to do. So I went and I checked on her, and I went into her room, and she was dead asleep. So that scared me. It's like, how could I be seeing someone who is alive in the spirit form? And that's a question that no one's been able to answer for me yet. It's been an experience. It's happened twice now. I also had another little boy come to me, running to me in his pajamas with the beautiful curly strawberry blonde hair and these big blue eyes. So cute. I was watching TV, and all of a sudden I look to my left and I see this spirit little boy running to me. I'm like, oh, that's so crazy. So he must belong to somebody. And I had like several readings the next day, and nobody could take this little boy. And on the last reading, the lady was talking about her grandson, whatever, having a hard time last night because he was sick. And I said, do you have a picture of your grandson? And she's like, yeah. And she showed it to me, and it was a little boy. So I had her little grandson, who was sick in the middle of the night, who was calling for his nana, come to me. And the only thing that I can think of was the message I kept hearing: I'm sicker than you think I am. I'm sicker than you think I am. So that's what I told her. I told her, I think you should probably take him to the emergency room. And so they did. And, it turned out to be fine. But I think that was scary for me when I started experiencing people who were alive, because now I can't tell the difference, right?
Wow.
Yeah, that's some weird stuff.
All right, sounds like you saved somebody's life, so that's freaking great right there. That's right indeed.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, you can't make that stuff up. And so that's what keeps me going, right? Anytime I get a little down, or I need a little bit of magic in my life, I tell spirit, I just say, I need some magic. So make something happen. And 9 times out of 10, I'll get an out of the park reading where I got a piece of evidence that blew them away. Like the magic is out there, right? You just got to be looking for it. You got to be aware. You have to shift your awareness and then just ask and they'll show you. They will show you.
Yeah, that's right indeed. You thought it was just the couch that was red, but she's got a cape too. She's saving lives, y'all. That's right indeed.
The
That's right
hero
indeed.
status.
She's got the T on her chest. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. It could be even white tea, red tea, black tea, green tea, all the teas. That's right
All of
indeed.
these. You want to know something else? It's kind of interesting. I told
Ooh.
you earlier about red and how red kept popping up. So an
Mm-hmm.
interesting thing came out of my book when I started writing my book. When my dad died when I was 19, what color does everybody wear to a funeral?
Oh yeah, black.
I wore red. And it all came full circle. I wore a red dress and red heels to my dad's funeral, and I was the only one in a color. And it all came full circle. And then here I am, the Red Couch Medium.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that story too. That's right indeed. I'm
Mm-hmm.
guessing folks turned their heads and then shook them. Some of them.
Yeah.
That's right
Yeah.
indeed. And some
Yeah.
of them were like, "Hey, is she single?"
I was for a little while, for 8 months. Almost snatched me. Oh.
Well, speaking of red couches and being at large, even though you are a medium, yeah.
Dun-dun-dun.
Yeah, if your wonderful book, you could be a medium. If that book were a food item, what would it be and why?
This is so good. I heard you ask that question. So I was like, oh my God, what food? And I'm just going to be completely transparent with the first food that came to me. And you know what it was? It was spaghetti. And you want to know why? I started to like, okay, I was like, okay, it's why spirit? Why spaghetti? Because we're all individual noodles
Yeah.
that are trying to make this earth work, period. That's it. And we are all connected somehow. I promise you we are. There's this web that we just can't see that interconnects us all in some way, some form, some fashion. So we're all touching, even though we're all crazy noodles. There you go.
No wonder the old saying was use your noodle to get more boodle. That's right
Yeah.
indeed.
Yes. And talking to dead is just the meatballs on top, you know?
That's how you get the meaty details, huh?
That's it. That's where the meaty details come from, all the meatballs that have passed on. They're no longer noodles, they're meatballs.
That's right, indeed. And she's
Yeah.
certified medium, so she's not an imposter.
My next show's at AIDS. My next show's at AIDS, right? I'll be on again. Oh,
That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Before any more rabbit ear wearing corn cobs appear, man, who am I kidding? We're going to keep it appearing. Anyways, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive. And
yeah.
that is if you all wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but still in 2023. Oh, what advice would you give to yourself?
Don't waste your years. Jesus, don't waste your years. Go for it. Just if anybody has a dream, all I can say is go for it because tomorrow's never promised, right? So what you're doing and procrastinating now, overthinking now, everything you're doing now is keeping you from that dream. And so I say just go for it before it's too late. And there you go. I'm going for it.
Woo!
Even at 52 now. 52 now. I'm still going for it.
There you go. She's playing Connect 4. That's right, indeed.
It's right.
And heck, if you read her age dyslexic style, she's 25. So
That's
she answered
right.
her uncle. Yeah, so she
That's
actually
right.
is.
I love you now. That's perfect.
That's right, indeed. The real meaning of the question now is meaning indeed. She's actually freaking 25.
That is it. There was a purpose for this podcast right there. We just time traveled back. Yeah.
That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. I didn't know the T and Tracey stand for time travel. That's what I'm talking
Right.
about.
I'm multifaceted.
I knew magic in more ways than one.
Right.
That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Well, for those who need to join the Magic Wand party, even though there's no wands at the party, even though there may be some wandas at the party, what's the best way for folks to keep up what you're doing? Buy some copies of your book and follow Tracey and all that smooth jazz.
Yes. So you can follow me. I'm everywhere: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, under the Red Couch Medium. I have a website, theredcouchmedium.com. You can buy my book on my website. You can buy it on Amazon, wherever you want to buy it. Support the working mediums of the world. Yeah. Find me anywhere. I'm everywhere. Google me. I'm Googleable.
She's Googleable indeed. That's right indeed. That's right. She can see dead people and talk to them. That's right
That's
indeed.
right.
And they won't even scare you. That's right.
Power. Nope. No scary stuff here.
That's right. Now I think about it, that's got to be something. Living people scary, but dead people haven't yet. That's funny.
Exactly. Exactly. That should tell you something.
And this is why introverts are accused of being antisocial. It's like there's people outside. It's like there's new meetings.
Oh, Lord. Lordy. Definitely a memorable podcast.
Oh, there we go. You've brought new meaning. It ain't dead people. I see alive people. Ah!
I'm gonna market that somehow. You wait. I'm gonna make a t-shirt. That's funny.
That's right. Dead folks are her jam, y'all. She ain't jelly at all about it. That's right.
Come see me. I can see them. Ha.
Oh, you heard that right, folks. We're going to put a link to all of our wonderful good stuff in the show notes. Check out our wonderful show with the buddy Cassie. Subscribe to it. Here's some great conversations to be entertained, if not edutained, indeed. And snag a copy or two or 500 of our magical book and share with your friends, family, cat, camel, dog, or even penguin or polar bear. So, any questions before I close up shop, Tracey?
It was awesome. You're an amazing host. Thank you for having me. I'm just getting my message out to the world. So thank you.
Thanks a bunch for investing your time by listening to this wonderful podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you really did, do me a solid and leave a review or share this episode with at least 3 people that you think would get some value out of today's content. Advance others to advance yourself.